Money in the Bank 2023 was something of a favourite pay-per-view of mine. Not just because of the matches being involved and how Triple H actually allowed the Money in the Bank matches to stand out on their own 2 feet, but also because it was one of those wonderful times when so many dirt sheets and misinformation bandits were clearly exposed. There were rumours that LA Knight was going to be winning it all. False. There were rumours that Drew McIntyre was refusing to come back to work until he had a new contract. False. There were rumours that Logan Paul was going to be drafted in the last possible moment. False. And so many more. We were talking about Brock Lesnar. We were talking about all sorts in the build-up to this pay-per-view, and what we instead got was a classic, clinical, high-quality show from start to finish. Great wrestling and very little overbooking that I personally really enjoyed. It's a new series for reviews coming through. We are talking about what happened at Money in the Bank 2023. Championships, Bloodline galore, and the real, true beginning of the year of Judgment Day. Speaking of Judgment Day, let's talk about our first match. We opened with the men's Money in the Bank ladder match featuring, and I'll make sure to list them, Butch, LA Knight, Damian Priest, Logan Paul, Ricochet, Santos, Escobar, and Shinsuke Nakamura. Huge opportunities for a number of people to help themselves rebuild or just build. Butch had a great shot here to be involved. Santos Escobar had a great shot here to be involved. And we know now that Shinsuke Nakamura was being rebuilt towards Seth Rollins. Meanwhile, we saw what has been a continuation of actually a quite long-term feud between Logan Paul and Ricochet, but more than anything, we saw the rise of Damian Priest, the eventual winner of this match, and the man who now carries the briefcase for the Bloodline. There were rumours that LA Knight was going to win it all. The championship that is supposedly in his future was not to come as of yet. Damian Priest picked up the win and did get involved later in the night, to cost his partner Finn Bálor. Now, of course, they're tag team champions. So a lot has changed in a very brief time for Damian Priest and the Judgment Day. Next up, here's one that set the cat amongst the pigeons. The Women's Tag Team Championship match. The champions going into this, Ronda Rousey and Shayna Baszler, imploded because of a last-minute decision by Ronda Rousey to leave the WWE as soon as SummerSlam. They were partners. They eventually became opponents, and this was out of nowhere because of how last minute it was. Their challengers were Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez. They have already lost the championships, and both of them have suffered injuries, not just in the build to this match, but also subsequently after this match. These particular tag team championship belts seem a little bit cursed. Of course, Ronda Rousey would go on to lose the UFC-style match that was panned at SummerSlam to Shayna Baszler. We can hope, certainly, that this is the beginning of a huge rebuild for Shayna Baszler. Instead, she seems to be heading into the tag division once again. Shayna Baszler versus Rhea Ripley is not in the future plans, though Rhea Ripley does seem to be getting a bit of a face turn at the moment, facing off against Nia Jax. You never know, we may be heading back towards Shayna Baszler and Nia Jax dominating the tag division all over again. I wouldn't hate it, but I wouldn't like it either. For the Intercontinental Championship, we had Gunther versus Matt Riddle, and how the mighty falleth on this one. It was a quality match, good submissions, good chain wrestling. Matt Riddle was able to show a little bit more of what he can do, but certainly right now, he's not exactly in the good books of WWE. In many ways, he's actually pushed way down the card. Meanwhile, Gunther continues his own ascension, largely through his feud recently with Chad Gable, and now he seems to be heading into a match with Tommaso Ciampa as well. It is the Workhorse Championship, and Gunther has personified that. After the match and after Gunther's victory, Drew McIntyre would head down to the ring to challenge Gunther, leading into a match at SummerSlam that was originally reported a month previous by yours truly in spoiler warning. Fourth match, once again Judgment Day involved, was Cody Rhodes versus Dominik Mysterio. Rhea Ripley got heavily involved but was not able to ensure the victory for her partner, or should I just say Pappy. Dominik Mysterio was soundly beaten by Cody Rhodes. There were plenty of rumours that Brock Lesnar was going to fly to the UK in order to cost Cody the win. I personally predicted that because that's where I felt the match was going, but Dominik Mysterio lost clean. Dominik is in one of those interesting positions where he had all that heat going into WrestleMania against Rey Mysterio, and I feel the loss in that match cost him That said, the man's still got plenty of heat, is still resoundingly hated, and I would love him to be the next World Heavyweight Champion. I just think that would be absolutely perfect. I could see a world in which he tries to rob the briefcase from Damian Priest, but certainly I don't see that yet. No matter how many teasers they do of a Judgment Day breakup, the moment has not yet come. This then moved into the women's Money in the Bank ladder match for a shot at either of the women's championships. While we did see them declare that it could be either championship, both sides seem entirely focused on their own brand at the moment, and Damian Priest ain't challenging Roman Reigns. Io Sky picked up the win here, beating her teammate Bayley, Becky Lynch, Trish Stratus, Zelina Vega and Zoe Stark. And this in many ways was a match of two teams. One team was Bayley and Io Sky. On the other side, you had Trish Stratus working with Zoe Stark, and then two wildcards in the form of Zelina Vega and Becky Lynch. Becky's ongoing feud with Trish Stratus and Zoe Stark largely took her out of the match, but Io Sky's win wasn't because of Bayley, despite being a team early on. It was actually in spite of Bayley, and this match is responsible for one of the best visuals in WWE for a long time. That moment was Becky Lynch handcuffed to Bayley through a ladder while Io Sky sat above them with the briefcase in hand. A very clear indication that Io Sky was to ascend beyond the horsewomen. I've been reporting for a long time that the horsewomen are taking a back seat more recently when it comes to championships, and while Charlotte Flair still finds ways to be involved, she's taken a lot of time off. Becky Lynch has been involved with Trish Stratus and now is a champion in NXT, but those are not the championships that I was talking about. Bayley seems nowhere close to championships right now, and in many ways she's helping put over the current champion Io Sky, having cashed in her briefcase. But I do see a moment in which Bayley potentially wins a Royal Rumble to take on Io Sky at WrestleMania. That said, I think it's also possible that we get Io Sky versus Asuka versus Kairi Sane. More on that to come. Subscribe for more. We then go into our World Heavyweight Championship match. Seth Rollins taking on Finn Bálor, and this was another match heavily featuring Judgment Day, in which we started to see the beginning of the end for Judgment Day. They've since recovered to a fashion, but Finn Bálor is certainly suffering from the involvement of Damian Priest. Finn Bálor potentially having this match won until Damian Priest did the absolute worst thing you can do, which was to stand. That's literally all he did. He holds a briefcase, but he was also standing up, and you shouldn't stand up near Finn Bálor. He does not like it. Never stand up near Finn Bálor. This distraction caused Seth Rollins to pick up the win, and of course a month later we'd see basically the exact same thing as SummerSlam. The briefcase is still hovering around Seth Rollins, even when Shinsuke Nakamura is involved as he is now. But I do think Damian Priest is going to pick up the win and claim the championship. That moment is certainly incoming, but we're not there just yet. Our final match, our main event, is where the Bloodline ran wild. 32 minutes of tag match of Jimmy and Jey Uso working directly against Roman Reigns and Solo Sikoa. And this is a match that, if you'll forgive the term, has been absolutely dumped on ever since. Jimmy Uso attacked Jey Uso at SummerSlam a month after this to cost Jey Uso the the WWE Undisputed Heavyweight Universal Championship of the World, Bloodline of the World, which made all of this a joke. Jimmy Uso wrestled this whole match against Roman and against Solo, and now he's trying to get it back into a tag team with Solo and back into Roman's good books. This was clearly more about Jey, but even then, Jey Uso lost at SummerSlam and then moved to Raw. Jey Uso pinned Roman Reigns here, and it was heralded as history. More than 3 years since Roman Reigns had been pinned, and what have they done since? Absolutely nothing. This match was a huge pop and a huge moment with zero follow-up. Also, for the first 20 minutes or so, as is typical of all Roman Reigns matches, it was dull. Money in the Bank was a great show, apart from some very dead moments. Largely a slow main event. The Bloodline storyline by Money in the Bank already felt like it had run its course, but the moment of Roman Reigns being pinned injected new life. New life which was then crushed once again when we got to SummerSlam. Jey Uso's moment has largely been forgotten. Now he is of course on Monday Night Raw, separate from Jimmy, who's back to being a heel again. That said, outside of the Bloodline story, we saw evolution, and in many ways we saw revolution. Damian Priest and the Judgment Day came to the ascendancy, a reward for such good work of Bad Bunny. You saw Io Sky claim a briefcase, which has now become claiming a championship. You also saw the continued evolution of Gunther, the continued big moments for Cody Rhodes, and a moment in which Ronda Rousey, the process began to kick her out. It was a great show that I highly recommend. On screen now is my SummerSlam review. If you're watching these in reverse order, check that out and enjoy it. Until then, as always, I've been Tom Collihew, you've been fantastic, and I'll see you very soon.